What's going on, everyone, and welcome to NeverLag. I'm one of your hosts, Levi, joined by the man who fell in the pit, Zach. And this is another episode of This Week in Gaming, where we bring you the news, reviews, and hot takes from around the industry over the past week. If you're into it, you can support us over on Patreon at patreon.com/NeverLag. If you have no money, no worries. You can support us by watching right here on YouTube or listening wherever you get your podcasts. Let's talk some games. This week in gaming, we have 6 stories to get to you. So, starting with Elden Ring review roundup. Right now, it's currently sitting at a Metacritic of 97. And on OpenCritic, it's sitting at a 96. I'll call out a few reviews here. GameSpot, Timur Hussein, gave it a 10 out of 10. Says, Elden Ring takes the shards of what came before and forges them into something that will go down in history as one of the all-time greats. A triumph in design and creativity, and an open-world game that distinguishes itself for what it doesn't do as much as what it does. Game Informer, Daniel Tack, gave it a 10 out of 10 as well. He says, Elden Ring represents a truly amazing combination of various game elements that all come together to create something fascinating, special, and unforgettable. Elden Ring isn't just the best game this year, it's one of the best games ever made. Some glowing
7 out of 10.
7 out of 10. Some glowing reports here to kick things off. What are your thoughts?
I'm not that interested. Just kidding. After hearing like this might be one of the best video games ever created in the history of man. Well, I don't know.
Really
No,
busy playing Fortnite.
Yeah. I mean the hype is real at this point. I've been excited for this for a while, like everyone else. The hype has only grown as we've gotten closer and closer. And I have to say, like, this isn't just like the initial couple of reviews either. This is like dozens of reviews at this
No, we're
point.
about done.
Like
Yeah.
we're almost done with like all the major outlets giving their reviews, and it, like you said, it's sitting at 96, 97, depending on the source you're looking at. So very excited. I'm wondering if it's going to stick for me, because I like the idea of Souls games. I've never been very good about finishing them because I am weak. But it sounds like this is the most approachable.
I am weak.
The most approachable from soft game to date. And I think one of the things that has me really excited is, hearing some of the reviewers go into what makes this game work really well is the open world really facilitates come back to things when you're ready. And I think one of the things that's hard about Dark Souls and Bloodborne and some of the others that I played some of is that you can get to points where it's like it's sort of linear. So that's probably not fully true. I think there are some different ways to get around things.
There are
But it feels
bottlenecks.
there are bottlenecks, and there are times where it feels like I just need to go this way. And I remember spending like 5 hours getting stuck at the exact same point and just being like, I'm done. And I'm not saying there won't be any of this for me here, but the upside is you can go in all these different directions, go take on other challenges, level up, get better gear, and come back to it when you're ready. That in and of itself makes me feel like this is going to be something that I make a lot more progress on. So overall, it's hard not to be excited with reviews like that, right? Like we haven't seen anything reviewed this well since Breath of the Wild. They're sitting at the same score on Metacritic. And that's the comparison, is that this is the first game to really feel like it transcends and is genre defining and is a, an all-time classic. The last time I heard that was Breath of the Wild, and it's hard not to feel really excited about that. How are you feeling?
Yeah. Yeah, all the same. I mean, it's just I think the two most hyped games, if I think of the three most hyped games of recent gaming history, I think Red Dead Redemption 2, I think Cyberpunk 2077, and I think Elden Ring.
Yep.
And we were hitting about 50-50 there until Elden Ring. And so it was up in the air. I mean, the hype has been just off the rails for the past several years since it was announced. And we're just waiting for everything to finally unfold here and find out, is this game actually good? And lo and behold, 97s. I mean, lots of 10 out of 10s, like you said, Breath of the Wild-esque in its reviewing. It's hard not to be excited about it.
I think the
I
lowest
think it
score I've
will
seen
be.
was 9 out of 10. So
Yeah,
uh,
yeah.
that's
I
promising.
mean, you got to get a 97. You can't be getting
Mhm.
eights. So I do think this will be the most approachable game in the series from everything I've heard, similar to what you've been saying. It offers a lot of player choice. You can tuck your tail and run if you decide.
Oh, and I will.
Um, and I'm loving what I'm hearing about the sheer scope of the game. I've heard just um, that it is vast and um, depth as well. And I'm not speaking figuratively; I'm speaking literally. That the world is um, has a lot of elevation and depth and
A lot of
a lot to
verticality.
explore in that way. Exactly. So very excited about it. It's great. It's great to see that it's a good game. And I mean, at this point, it's hard not to just trust FromSoft. I don't know that they've really put anything out below a 9, in my opinion, in years, in over a decade, if ever. So here we are. But that leads us to story number 2, because it can't all be good news in the gaming industry. We have an Elden Ring PSA. This is coming from a couple different articles. First one's from Kotaku, an article that says Elden Ring isn't running so great on PC. Quote, a digital foundry analysis conducted with the day one patch installed found Elden Ring runs best on PS5 and Xbox Series X, yet doesn't hit a stable 60 FPS frame rate on those consoles. On PC, however, Elden Ring has a number of issues that will affect all hardware configurations on all graphical settings presets. Digital Foundry says, when you encounter new enemies and regions, you can run into micro stutters of 250 milliseconds. Those are in addition to stark drops when you're covering a lot of ground through the open world. In some instances, reportedly dipping from 60 FPS to 40 FPS multiple times per minute. And then we've got a little bit more information from PC Gamer. Their article, Elden Ring's Day 1 patch fixed the worst stuttering issues, but some persist. Quote, Digital Foundry corroborates our experience in its testing. It found that the game suffers from frequent stuttering on the new patch. As it currently stands, the PC version using the latest 1.02 patch has a number of issues that will affect all hardware configurations on all graphical settings presets. Is this the same thing twice? Must have put that in there twice.
Mm-hmm.
Similar issues have been, and this is no longer a quote, but similar issues have been corroborated by the likes of Yang Ya and ACG. And I saw earlier ACG even posted a video that after doing extensive testing between patch 1.01 and patch 1.02, the experience was significantly worse on PC after patch 1.02 went live. So a bit of drama here. We're having to deal with day one patch drama once again.
1 out of 10.
Um,
1 out of 10.
yeah, yeah. After all the reviews go live, how do you feel about the day one patch conundrum we seem to be facing here recently?
I think the solution is simple. I think you release a game that doesn't need a day one patch, and then you can't have this issue. So little feedback for not for the devs, for the executive team, I think. Yeah, it's weird because I mean, we kind of had a similar issue with Horizon Forbidden West where glowing reviews from most everybody. I think there are a couple of dissenting views. Like there was 1 or 2 6 out of 10s, but most reviews were pretty high for Forbidden West, 8s and 9s, 9.5s. And a lot of the big reviewers didn't really talk about some of the more glaring technical visual issues, like some of the blur and the shimmering effects. And so it kind of, I don't know whether that was like, maybe that was made worse with the day one patch for Forbidden West. Maybe not. I have no idea. But it kind of makes you wonder, like, is there a pattern with the day one patch making things worse? And so the experience that we're hearing from the reviewers does not fully match the experience that players will have on day one. It's tough to know. And it just leaves me feeling like kind of confused. Like, I'm not sure what to believe. I'm not sure how my experience is going to be. I generally trust that this is probably a pretty good game. But it's frustrating. I mean, I think you and I've talked about how these days you really can't expect to experience a game in its best form for the first couple of months, which is a conundrum when you've been hyped for years about a game that is now finally coming out. And how many of us realistically have the self-control to wait? Like, could you wait to play Elden Ring? It would have to be probably more severe issues if you were actually going to wait, right? So I don't know. I'm curious what you think of this day one patch pattern that we're seeing lately.
I feel sadness. I feel great sadness. I mean, the whole world just looking forward to the end of February. All these amazing games coming out, and games we've been waiting years for. And man, it's been a rocky start for me personally with Horizon. I haven't played it in. I mean, we're going on 4 or 5 days. I've put it down, still waiting for a patch that fixes what I feel makes the experience not worth having in performance mode on their game. To me, it does not feel ready at this point. Still waiting. So Horizon's launch for me has been a bust at this point. I'm waiting. And then to hear this go live today, very sad, especially after the reviews and everything. Just feels like, okay, Elden Ring is going to be everything it was meant to be. And I'm sure the game, much like Horizon, the game quality, the art within the game and the design, I'm sure will be excellent. But performance is the lens through which we get to experience these things. And if it's not optimum at launch, it leaves consumers in that not fun position of having to decide, will I wait longer? Will I wait past launch day, past when everyone else is getting into this, because I want a better experience? So, and some other, I can't find the actual quote, because you mentioned it might have to be more severe to decide to wait, right? It has to be something pretty bad. Man, I wish I could find the quote, but essentially, news has come out from Digital Foundry that on next-gen consoles, Xbox Series X and PlayStation 5, that Elden Ring in performance mode fluctuates between 40 and 60 FPS, which is very troubling to hear. This is not a game that looks to be trying to push the boundaries of graphical fidelity or what we would expect from a purely next gen title. It is a cross gen title. But I mean, I can't remember when was the last time we've had a game come out that had a performance mode that couldn't maintain a pretty solid 60.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Yeah,
can you
even
think of anything?
even
That's pretty standard these days.
It is, because even Horizon Forbidden West, while its performance mode is, I would agree the performance in Forbidden West is unusable, but not because of the frame rate, because of like everything else basically. So it is concerning to hear that it's struggling to hold the frame rate in its performance mode. Like that's kind of the point.
Yeah.
So
Digital Foundry, and I'll paraphrase here because I don't have the quote, but they literally said if you want a constant 60 FPS, play the PS4 version or play the last gen version on next gen, and it's just like,
if you
what
want
a world we live in. Like,
if you want a consistent FPS, close your eyes and mentally envision the game in its full fidelity.
Yeah. So just sadness. I just feel sadness because I genuinely now am concerned that, I've got it on, I'm now wondering, should I've gotten it on PC? There's PC issues too. So it's like, where do you run to? But I did pre-order on PlayStation 5 is where I'll have it.
I pre-ordered mine on Nintendo Switch. I'm hoping that does
hoping they have a 120 FPS mode.
That's right.
But yeah, now I'm worried. I'm worried I'm going to boot it up, and performance wise, it's going to disappoint. It's not going to be as clear as I would like, and the frame rate fluctuating from 40 to 60. I don't see how that can't be noticeable after getting so used to playing 60 FPS. And then they also said that the resolution mode is not capped and fluctuates between 30 and 60, which is an interesting choice because typically the fluctuation of frame rates is what creates a more displeasurable viewing experience. Normally, you'd rather have a rock steady 30 than something that fluctuates. That's more noticeable. So very interesting. And I guess my other thought from this whole situation is like, we got to do something about these day one patches, because we're getting reviews on a certain build of the game, and then they do a day one patch that is supposed to fix everything, right? It's supposed to fix things, make the game better. But in the course of a week, we're seeing where maybe that's not the case. Maybe the patch is making it worse, and now we've got this discrepancy between the reviews and what consumers are getting on day one. Um, it feels like a problem, and these two might be worst case scenario, but the fact that they're the biggest games of the year releasing within a week of each other having similar issues kind of raises the question. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that anything can be done, but it doesn't feel right to be getting reviews coming out 10 out of 10 and then a patch kind of makes the game worse for
Right.
consumers day one.
Yeah, it's interesting, and I mean these are two different studios, obviously, two different companies. So it like it makes you wonder: is this because of the trend of like really holding to deadlines as much as possible? And I know these games were delayed, right? So it's like there is this balance I think they face of like how many times can you delay before it damages consumer trust. Cyberpunk is a great example of that very thing. But at the same time, releasing something and then having day one patches that make things actively worse, is that worse? I don't know. I don't have a good answer to that. I mean, this obviously is less severe than like the state Cyberpunk was released in, but it's not a good trend. And from like the major Sony titles, major entries, arguably the most anticipated games of this year, um, it's frustrating. Now, I mean, a lot of sympathy to the developers who are making these amazing experiences and these super complicated games, but it does leave you to wonder, like, why is this becoming more of a trend? Is there a way we can stop it? Is the issue just consumer expectations and the difficulty of launching things on a certain schedule? I honestly don't know.
Yeah. It just feels like the crutch that the industry has begun to lean on in the past probably 5 to 10 years now, 5 years at least. And it's the never ending tug of war between executives and consumers,
Mm-hmm.
and probably developers on the side of consumers, right? Um, Wanting to get the game out, make the money. As a consumer, I would hands down rather the game don't even give me a release date till you know the game's done. Wait till the game is done, and then say it's releasing in a month or 3 months.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like this having to make a personal choice. Am I going to wait for the game to be in a better state, even though I can go pick it up? That to me is worse. But
Don't put the self control on me. I'm a consumer.
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
release it when it's
that
ready, and
is
then
the
I
last
can
thing I want.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Ugh.
Like I would, if my experience with Horizon Forbidden West has not been nearly as poor as yours. I've been playing in resolution mode, and it's good enough that I've been enjoying it. But that being said, I would rather have waited an extra few months um, to have the performance mode in a playable state, to have the game in a more polished and touched up state than we got it. Happily, I would have happily waited a few months. And so that same is true for any of the games I'm
Yeah,
excited for. Like, as much as I want them as soon as
I think
possible,
too.
the reality is I'd rather the games be good. And I think most reasonable gamers agree with
Yeah,
that. But thankfully, gamers are known for being a reasonable demographic. So,
very reasonable. I'm the most reasonable. I think too, though, that these publishers are underestimating the impact, underestimating the first impression. Like, if you release your game and it has issues at launch and people have to deal with save bugs or quest bugs or poor performance, um, you know, consumers have a pretty good memory, I feel. And they kind of look at you twice next time you come around, or an otherwise excellent game like these two games we're getting could be tarnished, pun intended, um, by these releases. And I think all too often companies underestimate goodwill. So we'll see how bad it is on day one, which is actually tonight. Some people may already have it,
mm-hmm.
or tomorrow, the 25th, when Elden Ring launches. Hopefully they'll be able to fix some of these issues, but we'll see. Story number 3, PlayStation app update. It's coming from a Polygon article. PlayStation 5 players will finally get to share clips via the PlayStation app. Quote, PlayStation 5 users will be getting more flexibility in how they can share their game captures, according to an announcement made Wednesday by Sony. The console manufacturer announced that it is gradually rolling out the ability to share your PS5 game captures through the PlayStation app in more regions. Americas are first up, with more countries next month. The PlayStation app allows users to scroll through clips, watch them, download them to their mobile devices, and easily post them to social media. It does not require a PlayStation Plus membership to use. Sony clarified in an FAQ following the announcement that your captures are stored for 14 days on SIE's cloud servers in order to make them available to you via the PlayStation app. That's the end of the quote. Some additional notes I procured. Specifics are that the videos that are uploaded have to be less than 3 minutes long and not in 4K. All screenshots are uploaded, and I found this out last night. There are no manual uploads, so you cannot select a photo from the past, from past you, and upload it to your phone manually. So interesting choice there, but baby steps, I suppose.
Yeah, it feels like a weird requirement to include with this. I would guess it's just like you said, baby steps. Like they're doing the bare minimum. Maybe, I don't know. It's a weird choice. I feel like the manual upload is the key thing I would be looking for. I don't want to upload everything. There's usually like I'll take more screenshots and video clips than I actually want on my phone, because a lot of times in
Yeah,
the moment it's like, oh, this is kind of cool. Take a video clip later. I revisit it. I'm like, that one's not as good, but this one's really good. Um, I really would like the choice. Or like you said, you take a cool video clip from a game experience 3 months ago, and then it comes up and you're like, oh, I want to revisit that or send that to someone. Well, now it's too late. So I guess,
very
I mean,
weird choice. Yeah,
it's not bad that they're adding this functionality. It just feels like they're kind of missing, for me, what would be the main point here.
yeah.
But
Like I've been looking forward to this for a long time. We've often griped about how there's no real easy way to get your captures off of console. A
and
lot of
now
consoles.
there still isn't.
And now there's kind of a way. It's like everything with an asterisk. But yeah, the other night I was like, oh, cool, what a cool feature. Let me hop in. Let me go back to Spider-Man or Ghost of Tsushima. Let me send a screenshot to my phone and see how it works. It's not working.
Yeah.
So I Googled it, and it's like, yeah, no manual uploads. Only automatically does it when you take new screenshots and videos. So I don't know if there's a way to hack this. I wonder if you could literally go in to an old screenshot and take a screenshot of it.
Mm.
I mean, that would maybe work, right? Can you take video capture while you're in the media gallery? I don't think so, but maybe you could record video of you watching your video. But why do we have to do that, Sony? Anyways, it's better than not.
Hopefully it
Hopefully,
implies that they will be adding that feature down the line.
yeah, wouldn't that be great? And also, I mean, obviously, this hasn't even been rolled out to everyone yet, so I'll have to test. I'll have to take a screenshot later and see how it works. Also, to speak to what you said earlier about taking a bunch of screenshots, not wanting them all necessarily, they don't automatically download to your phone. Obviously, they are stored in, what does it say, SIE's cloud servers, which you can access through your PlayStation app, and then you can select what you want to download to your phone from there. So
All right,
there is
that's a
a bit
little
of an
better.
in between. That way you don't have to worry about literally everything going to your phone, because I know for me, I got to clean up my phone. I don't have a lot of storage on it. So that's a good feature that they put in place.
Yeah, that'll make it so there's still room on my phone for pictures of my kids.
Exactly. Okay. Story number 4. We got our first look at PSVR 2's headset this past week. If you're an audio listener, well, anyone out there will have to go look at this. But basically, it looks it looks like you'd expect it to look. It looks like PSVR, and it looks like a PlayStation 5 if you took the two and then put them
Yeah.
together, right? I mean, did you look at this? Do you have any thoughts about the design of it? Anything shock you?
No, and like you said, it's at this point we've seen VR headsets and we know what the PS5 looks like. So if you imagine
Yeah.
the combination of the two, it's like has kind of the white and black styling of the PS5, similar kind of curves and angles, but it's a headset similar to what you'd see with
Yeah.
the Oculus or whatever else goes over your eyes as a headset. does.
Kind of reminded me of when they announced that the PlayStation 5 would be called the PlayStation 5, and we're like, thank you,
Breaking
Sony.
news. You heard it here first, folks. Um, yeah, it's what you'd expect. I mean, it's cool. I'm excited to see the next iteration of VR. Like, I'm more just excited that we're seeing more progress on this front. I think everyone
Yeah,
expected VR to take over, and then it didn't, and then everyone's like, "Oh, is it dead in the water?" I think realistically, it's a growing niche that over time becomes more interesting and more affordable. And I think there are some experiences I would like to have in VR that I haven't for the most part, and so I'm pretty excited about PSVR in general, as an addition to my gaming, not as a like a um, not swapping out my habits, but kind of supplementing
sure.
my existing
I
habits.
concur. I concur, and I'm happy that Sony is continuing to push into this frontier and not giving up on it, because I do think I will partake in this generation, whereas I have not in generation past. So, some other notes about the new headset that I pulled from Sony's article. Um, it was inspired by the look of the PS5 family of products, which is
Mhm.
apparent when you look at it. It's got the white and black tones, just like the controllers in the console.
Which makes sense. Why would it not? It'd be really interesting if
Yeah,
it wasn't. This was
right.
inspired by the
Xbox
Xbox
Series
Series.
X,
Yeah,
by the blue and red Joy-Cons from the Nintendo Switch.
that's right.
Um, New features such as lens adjustment dial. So users have an additional option to match the lens distance between their eyes to optimize their view. I'm sure that's great. I have not spent much time with a VR headset, but that sounds important. Slimmer design with a slight weight reduction, which is always good. And they've also innovated on airflow by creating a vent in the headset to let air out. So,
All of these are positive.
uh,
I haven't had
yeah,
a ton of experience with VR, but my brother-in-law has one, and so I've played a little bit with it, and with like an older, I think it was an Oculus, and it's like a couple years ago, and the features they're touting with this new headset address some of the issues I had, which is the lenses weren't always quite right, and so more options there I think is good. People's vision varies wildly, so the more options we get with adjusting the lens so that it's clear for your field of vision is obviously important. The weight reduction is important. Like, I remember my neck being kind of sore after doing it for like an hour or so. So the more we can do that, the more enjoyable the experience is going to be. And then event is important. So when you take it off, hopefully your eyes aren't like as horribly sweaty and disgusting. They probably still will be, but it'll maybe be more comfortable. So all good things.
yeah. They also mentioned keeping the screen from getting fogged up or whatever. So
Mm-hmm.
we'll see. Hopefully, we get our hands on it this year. Probably not. Maybe next year. Story number 5: new Pokemon. New Pokemon Presents live stream coming February 27th on Pokemon Day. Do you know about this Pokemon
National
Day?
Pokemon Day. Yeah, I mean President's Day, Labor Day,
What is the
Pokemon Day.
27th? Do we get the 27th
Um,
off?
yeah, I believe I believe the president has
Oh, it's a
declared that.
Sunday. Why would they do that to us?
Yeah, 'cause that way it's a day off.
You just get them. You get the following Monday off,
It's
right? It's like a
yeah,
3-day weekend.
I think you get a week in the U.S., but in
Pokemon Day week.
non-U.S. countries you get 3 weeks. So
Yeah, stinking US. All right, so yeah, for those who don't know, February 27th is Pokemon Day.
I can't wait to
Celebrates the
play. I can't wait to be
anniversary.
playing Elden Ring on Pokemon Day.
I know, yeah. I guess they released Legends a month early, but well, where was it? Pokemon Day celebrates the anniversary of the series launch in 1996. Pokemon Red and Pokemon Green were released in Japan, which is, how many years is that? 20, 26,
Mm-hmm.
27?
26.
Yikes. That's
Yeah,
terrifying.
I know.
Anyways, this new stream, let's see. We got a quote from Polygon. The Pokemon Company will stream a new episode of Pokemon Presents on Sunday, February 27th, the day also known as Pokemon Day. Sunday's Pokemon Presents live stream, basically the equivalent of a Pokemon focused Nintendo Direct, will kick off at 9 a.m. Eastern, 6 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, and will run about 14 minutes, according to a tweet from the Pokemon Twitter account for Japan. So yeah, that's just a few short days away. I mean, I know maybe we don't have our finger on the pulse of the Pokemon industry, but what do you imagine we might get here? Anything?
I have no idea. Like I don't understand Nintendo and Pokemon and Game Freak,
They
like
have a
because
weird relationship, right?
Pokemon Company. Yeah, it's a weird
They're
relationship.
like
I
best
feel
friends
like
with benefits.
they don't always like. I feel like weird Nintendo decisions applies to Pokemon as well. So it's hard to predict what they might do. Granted, I'm not like super close to this. I will say I feel like Legends Arceus was seemed like it was pretty popular at launch. I enjoyed it for the most part. Have some big issues with it, but I overall enjoyed it. So I'm excited to hear about the like. I'm hoping we get something about the future of like the mainline Pokemon games because that's mostly what I care about. So are we going to get more Arceus like games, more 3D world kind of sort of pseudo open exploration? Are they going to keep pushing the boundaries in that direction? Are they going to revert back to now we're doing super shiny diamond and really nice silver pearl version with all the same Pokemon or both? I don't know. I have no idea. So I'm interested to like see what the highlights are from this. I'm hoping that we're going to get more news on like the future of their games, but I have no idea what they're going to do.
Yeah, who knows? And 27 is like not a very not quite a milestone, I would say, but we'll see. It's interesting that it's so quick after the launch of Legends. Like, what do you do? You know, it's hard to imagine them announcing the next game or any big information like that. Um, we'll see. Maybe is it too soon for DLC? You think they'll do any DLC for Legends? That could be.
Um, I could see that. I could definitely see them doing some DLC, adding more Pokemon, adding another island you can go to. I don't
Yeah,
know.
I don't know what it would look like. Maybe there's some talk that maybe we'll get Gen 9 revealed, which would be very cool. That's
Gen 9, I would like to
I'm
see
always
like yeah.
always down for new generation reveal and the starters and everything. So
I know those are so hit and miss too. It's like, is this going to be the next coolest dragon you've ever seen, or is it going to be like this is a swivel chair Pokemon, and this one is a ballpoint pen? And it's
and new
like,
starters are all furniture. We'll see. It's only a few days away, so time will tell. Story number 6: EA execs blame Halo as reason Battlefield 2042 failed. Let's see. This is a story from Kotaku, and so yeah, they're blaming Halo for why 2042 failed. The quote I liked here. Oh man, who is this from? It's farther up in the article.
it's from Laura Miele. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but she's the
Miel.
chief studios officer of EA.
Yeah, she's talking about Halo that came out around the same time and apparently created a comparison for multiplayer shooter fans that, quote, was not favorable because Halo Infinite was a very polished title, whereas Battlefield 2042 contained bugs and wasn't as polished, end quote.
It's amazing. What
So,
deflection! What an abdication of responsibility for your own product. That's that's like if someone like cheated on their spouse and then was trying to justify it and was like, the only reason this looks so bad is because the other husbands didn't cheat on their wives at the same time, and that makes me look worse by comparison. But if that wasn't the case, then this isn't as bad.
that is
uh,
exactly the same as what's happening here, except this is worse.
This is worse. I agree. Like, I don't mean to downplay the severity of what's happening here. It's just like that's hilarious. It's basically saying
Oh,
like
man.
our competitor's game was better than ours, which is why ours was worse. And it's like, yeah, that's exactly the
I
reason.
love
It
that
doesn't
they
mean
didn't
yours is
even I love that they didn't even just be like, it's Halo. Like, how could we compete with Halo?
right. Yeah,
No,
they
they
didn't even.
literally went in to describe how
Halo
their
is a
game was
timeless
buggy.
franchise. Yeah.
Their game was buggy and unpolished, and that's why it couldn't compete with Halo. And it's like,
What's utterly ironic is later in that
oh man.
statement, Miel goes on to say, it's really important to acknowledge when we have misses. This is certainly the case with the Battlefield launch, which failed to meet the expectation of our players and also clearly missed our own expectations. And by that, I mean, this is all Halo's fault.
It's such a
It's
mess. Such
important
a
to
mess.
acknowledge when you've made mistakes, and this is not our fault.
I've never seen someone so messily deflect blame and then also inadvertently take on so much blame in the same
Inadvertently
quote.
prove
Like,
why it was their own mismanagement. Because
yeah,
yeah, it's like this
hilarious.
just leads to the question of, well, why did you release it in a buggy state? Why didn't you just wait longer?
Oh man.
And then it would have been
Is this
further from
just
Halo.
This is our life in 2022 in video games. So we'll look forward to Battlefield 2083. Um, that's it for our main stories. We have a couple quick call outs to end the show. Destiny Witch Queen launched, was it yesterday? Yes. No, today.
It's 22nd, I thought.
Oh,
Yeah,
you have
it's the
224. That's the reviews. Got you.
that's as
Right
as
now
of
it's
the
sitting at
24th. Yeah.
yeah, as of today, the 24th, it's sitting at a user score on Metacritic of
Mm-hmm.
7.7. No official reviews are out yet. That score is all right. General sentiment I've seen from those that are deep in the Destiny franchise seem pretty positive. So we'll see. We'll see how review scores come out a little bit later on. And then, oh yeah, we forgot to get to this. I meant to put this in a main story, but forgot about it. Horizon Forbidden West.
I got the
Um,
details pulled up.
oh, do
Um,
you? Go ahead.
yeah, so I forgot to put this in the main section too, but they released a patch yesterday at like 2 a.m. our time, in the US. But the latest patch has a couple of fixes. It's patch 1.05. They have some fixes and improvements to several different main quest issues, some side quests, some world activities. There's a couple of like mechanical gameplay fixes. They did some like image correct or some image over sharpening corrections in HDR mode. So there's a few different things they fixed here, several crash issues, but notably they have not yet fixed the like the shimmering. Some of the major visual issues are still not fixed, unfortunately. So I was excited when this patch came through. I threw it into performance mode. Lo and behold, the shimmer in the trees was still pretty dang distracting. So I switched right back to resolution. However, at the top of their patch notes, they list several known issues that they're working on, and they list as their highest priority, the team is investigating several graphical issues reported by players regarding shimmering, sharpening, and screen saturation when moving the camera, which is good because I think that's like probably the biggest complaint. There's some others, but that's probably the biggest one. So on the upside, that they've say that's a high priority bug they're working on. We don't have a timeline, unfortunately. It's not in the latest patch, but it is at least on Gorilla's radar.
Yeah. Oh, I just pulled it up. It looks like they've changed their patch notes since the last time I looked at it, because I was going to call out something I thought was not the best format they did, because they released their patch notes, patch 1.05. And then the first bullet point was known issues. And in that, it went into performance mode, blurriness, shimmering, resolution, all the stuff that everyone's waiting to get fixed, or that I personally am for sure. But those were just the known issues they're still working on. And I was like, why would you put that the first thing in your patch notes? Like, that's very confusing to someone reading
Right.
it. But it looks like they've since changed that. And yeah, for me, this was quite a bummer, because I've been waiting literally hour by hour for news on when this patch will fix the issues I'm having so that I can jump back in. And finally 1.05 launches, and yeah, I'm sure it fixes a lot. And for those of you who, it sounds like it fixes a lot of issues specifically pertaining to progression bugs, where certain quests would stop you depending on certain parameters being met, or whatever things you couldn't continue the story. It sounds like they fix a lot of quest issues. So if you were stuck there, that's great. If you're waiting for the game to perform better, yeah, it's still, I booted it up. It still looks pretty much exactly the same. So I guess we'll wait with bated breath for 1.06, although it'll probably be patch 1.3 by the time I get back to this game, now that they've taken this long. So
On the upside, I mean, it is nice to hear them specifically address the actual concerns, because for a while they kept saying, "Thanks for your bug feedback. We're working on it." But it was like, are they really hearing the main
what have you
themes,
heard?
right? And what are you working on? Like, because
Yeah.
I'm sure they're getting a ton of bug requests. They can't prioritize them all at the same time. So, like, what are you actually spending your focus on? So it's nice to hear them say that the top high priority issue is graphical issues relating to shimmering, sharpening, and screen saturation when moving the camera, which are, in my mind, the biggest things besides like the progression stuff they needed to fix. So it's a bummer that it's not fixed yet, but at least they've specifically acknowledged and say it's their top priority. So fingers crossed. At the same time, Elden Ring is coming out, so I guess we have something else to distract us in the meantime.
Yeah, I've kind of missed the window here, so or I guess Gorilla has for me. But well, I'll be back. I'll be back one day when it's finished. It's so over the top, but it feels that way. Okay, well, that is everything, right? You don't have anything more?
That's all I got this week.
That's all we got. That was let's see. That was this week in gaming. So thank you for sticking with us. And remember, you can find us over at Patreon, patreon.com/NeverLag. We thank you for your support here on YouTube, for listening where you get your podcasts. Remember to like, share, subscribe, all the fun stuff that everyone bugs you to do. And we'll catch you next time on NeverLag.